Further debate. I recognize that member from Guelph.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise to speak on Bill 197. And as a member of the committee that's looking at economic recovery that the member from Mississauga East Cooksville just recommended or talked about, I was excited to look at a bill called COVID-19 Economic Recovery Act. But much to my disappointment, the bill doesn't talk about the real concerns that people and businesses have brought to the committee. Bill 197 is more of a pre-pandemic wish list from the government than it is an economic recovery bill. Like most of the government's COVID economic response bills, what's more important to talk about is what's not in this bill as what's in the bill, with one exception, which I will get to soon, Speaker. This bill does nothing for the small businesses that have come to committee over and over again asking for a rent relief program that actually works. I just got off a call with the Downtown Guelph Business Association, and small businesses are still asking for a rent relief program that is driven by tenants, not landlords, that has an economic threshold of 20% loss instead of 70% loss. Without this support, many small businesses will close. And in addition to that, these same small businesses are asking the government, and they asked at committee, the committee the member opposite referenced, for the commercial eviction ban to be extended at least until the end of the year, because it expires in August, at the end of August, even though many businesses are just now being able to reopen. Speaker, there will be no economic recovery in Ontario if we allow small businesses to die. And that's why the government must act, and unfortunately it's not in this bill. Speaker, there will be no economic recovery in Ontario if we don't come to the rescue of municipalities now. At one time, the City of Toronto was losing about $65 million a week. Municipalities have hit a cash flow wall. And so while the Premier likes to blame Ottawa for the lack of action, we need action right now. And so what I want to challenge the government to do, while they're negotiating a deal with the federal government, there are things this government could do right now. They can double the gas tax for municipalities, which is something they promised, actually, when they were campaigning in 2018. They can reverse the cuts to child care and public health by restoring the previous funding formulas. They can help municipalities in long-term care by offering them an immediate grant to cover the $350 million of extra money municipalities put into city-run long-term care facilities. Actually, while we're talking about long-term care, Speaker, you know, if the government really wanted to be prepared for a possible second wave as we deal with the economic recovery, they could make immediate investments in long-term care to provide the dignity that our elders deserve. You know, while I support a public inquiry, I actually agree with the Premier that there are immediate steps that we can take, such as hiring more registered nurses, hiring more personal support workers, and bringing in a minimum standard of care of 4 hours in our long-term care facilities. Speaker, businesses have come to committee, and they've told me in my own local consultations about economic recovery that there will be no economic recovery if parents have to choose between their jobs and their children. So until we have funding for childcare facilities to open, for schools to be open full-time providing in-class learning, until we have the funding to be able to do that, there will be no economic recovery. And so while I appreciate the member opposite talking about the Economic Recovery Committee, I would encourage the government to actually listen to what the people and businesses are asking for at that committee and incorporate that into a bill that's about economic recovery. So, Speaker, my time is limited, So I'm going to talk about one aspect of this bill that is particularly concerning and deeply disturbing. Now, I've kind of gotten used to whenever the government introduces a big omnibus bill, there's always a schedule, it seems like, in there that takes a hammer to environmental protection laws. Over and over again, we've seen it with this government, that whether it's laws to protect endangered species and their habitat, whether it's laws to protect our drinking water from pits and quarries, whether it's laws to protect us from toxic spills into our lakes and rivers, the government considers it red tape. They consider it red tape. And so here again, we have changes to the Environmental Assessment Act in the name of cutting red tape. Well, Speaker, the laws that protect our drinking water, that protect our farmland, that protect the places we love in this province are not red tape. So it is deeply concerning that this government is moving the environmental assessment process from a process of where public projects receive an environmental assessment to one where the minister has the power to decide which projects will receive an EA and which will not. Speaker, that shouldn't be decided by the minister. That should be decided by the threat of a project, the scale and scope of a project, and most of all by science. It should be decided by science. Do we really want to put that kind of power in the hands of a minister, and particularly this minister? There's no better example of that from the court ruling we had just this last fall, where this minister canceled a wind farm and said it was for a particular, actually I think it was in your writing there, the member opposite. And the courts, it was because of bats, and the courts ruled, and I want to quote, the courts ruled that the minister didn't follow science. I want to quote, that the decision the minister made, quote, lacked transparency and intelligibility. Do we really want that kind of power in the hands of the minister? The minister says that we need to speed up the EA process. The Minister of the Environment. According to Eco-Justice, Speaker, the changes made in this bill actually may slow down the EA process, because now citizens, instead of going through the EA process, if the minister makes a bad decision or there's a bad proposal, they will take it to the courts, which will actually likely even slow down the process further. So I'm all for modernizing the environmental assessment process and system. So let's modernize it for some things that, like what the Auditor General called for. In an Auditor General 2016 report, they said, you know what, EA shouldn't just apply to public projects, it should apply to private projects. It should apply, and that would have prevented the $1.2 billion liability this province faces due to abandoned mines. Or maybe we could apply it to greenhouse gas emissions and climate pollution. Or maybe we should modernize it to take into account more Indigenous issues. So I want to remind the members opposite that it was actually Bill Davis who brought in the Environmental Assessment Act at a time when Conservatives actually recognized the importance of conserving the places we love, not treating it as red tape. Thank you, Speaker.